growth goes down, and your currency is under stress, you need some stabilizer, some support. And IMF exactly is for that purpose, for macroeconomic stability, to shield you from collapse. There are economies, Mr. Zulu, that never took such steps. I don't want to mention names. I'm a politician. I'll be quoted in a bad light. They never went through reform programs with the support of IMF, and literally economies collapsed. Their currencies collapsed. When a currency collapses, Mr. Zulu, things become bad for everybody, especially for the grassroots economy, because everything is unpredictable. Inflation goes through the sky. You cannot know the price tomorrow. And this happened, globally. If you study economic history in Europe, these things happened. By the way, there are enough lessons learned on how to run an economy. There are templates. And the IMF partnership template, Mr. Zulu, is a proven one. And in Europe, I can tell you, after the World War in Germany, writers say that the currency lost so much value that you had to put money in your wheelbarrow to go and buy a newspaper. So basically, money became worthless. And so there are policies that you put in place and support systems that can help your country not to slide into such levels of downfall. And Zambia,
what are the positives that we've picked out from being on this IMF program IMF, for 2025?
Now, with IMF, if we did not go on IMF program, especially on the enhanced credit facility program, okay, where there was that support through monetary terms. Remember the 3-year program?
Yes.
And there was $1.3 billion that was given to Zambia, but you are qualifying through the trenches. You do a particular phase, you are assessed. If you pass, they give you the next tranche.
Comes in.
So that support helped Zambia to stabilize our macros. And therefore, the economy remained within the safe zone. The Kwacha did not collapse. I want to tell you, sir, I'm an economist by training. If we didn't go on IMF program by 2022, this economy, the exchange rate could have gone above 50 to 70 kwacha per dollar. Can this country sustain that? Imagine how much the fuel prices could have been if the exchange rate went to that level. So that support, the enhanced credit facility program by the IMF, the extended credit facility program by IMF, is that it provided that buffer. So there was some forex that was coming because we were not earning enough in terms of foreign exchange. The mining production has gone up, which is the main forex earner. The number had gone down because of inconsistent and unattractive policies in the mining sector. And later on, we faced the drought situation and then the energy crisis. But even with that, look at the numbers. Even with the West drought and the energy crisis, the mining production continued going up because of the combination of these factors and support from IMF, which helped to bring in, the support.
Is this an IMF success story or a debt restructuring success story?
Debt restructuring is part of it.
Yeah, I want you to just draw a line for us here because you've said the IMF part is played a crucial role.
Excellent.
What role did the debt restructuring also play in this? Because you're saying without the IMF, we would have been trading at $1 to 70 kwacha.
Yes.
Was it going to be the case if we didn't have the IMF but still went on with debt restructuring and got the result that we got now?
Exactly, Mr. Zulu. The IMF program brought about confidence for Zambia to enable Zambia to do debt restructuring. So it was an enabler. Without the IMF program that gives confidence to the players, debt restructuring was going to be a problem. Right now, debt restructuring is basically done, about 94%. That is really as good as done. And going into IMF programs, qualifying for IMF program, send a signal to the stakeholders, including those we owe money as a country, that Zambia now is doing the right thing. Because when you qualify to IMF, there are boxes that are ticked. you are doing well here, you are doing well here, you are doing well here, and therefore confidence came back to the economy, including those we owe money and even investors. Now, investors, Mr. Zulu, look at a country's dashboard, okay? What is the growth rate? What are the debt levels? What is the inflation level? What is the exchange level? What is the economic policy and the other issues, okay? What is the level of prudence in the economy? Once these are positive, it attracts goodwill, even to those that you owe money. So the people that Zambia owed money, including the bond holders. You know about the bond? One bond was supposed to be paid off in 2022. A bullet, $750 million. Zambia did not have that money. The next one was about $1.250 billion. The next one was about 750, and just successively, 2022, okay, 2024, 2025. Zambia was not going to manage to pay those amounts as they fell due. But because of the IMF program, qualifying to IMF program, by putting in place feasible economic reforms that are credible, these bondholders will say, okay, fine, you are doing the right things. With what you are doing, we see growth coming through. You see your ability enhanced to repay, and therefore we can agree to extend, including the other lenders like the bilaterals and so on and so forth. So going into IMF program was a platform to qualify for debt restructuring. And I want to tell you, Mr. Zulu, Zambia in Africa, as far as debt restructuring is concerned, is at the moment number one. We have performed better than any country. Compare it with Ghana, compare it with other countries. Zambia has done much, much, much better because of going on to IMF program. Not only that, by putting in place feasible and credible economic reforms. And I'll tell you, in energy sector, in mining, in agriculture, in service delivery, all these amounted to confidence to the stakeholders. You know, Mr. Zulu, you can only deal with a guy you believe he can do he does the right things. And that's how an economy operates.
I find out from you, President Hamududu, we're getting into a space where we as Zambia wanted to extend this IMF program, but it looks like it won't be happening now. But Finance Minister reassured the country that we're still on the table having conversations for an extension for another, IMF program. Do you think with what we have achieved so far, 94% of our debt restructured,
yes,
and looking at how our economy performed in 2025, do you think we should still get on another IMF program, or we should do away with it?
Yeah, and that's why, Mr. Zulu, the Minister of Finance and the government has made a decision to conclude the enhanced credit facility arrangement. By the way, we are still on IMF. All countries are members of IMF. Yes. Like South Africa is on IMF, but on a technical part. Botswana has been on IMF on the technical part. Now they want to get money because their macros are really bad at the moment. You get my point? So the extension was to the extent that if the economy did not improve sufficiently, there was need to increase the stability support. But lo and behold, things have happened faster. Mr. Zulu, the energy levels in this country, electricity, is improving. Mineral production is going up, and thank God the mineral prices are also going up. And therefore, the receipts from exports are improving. Therefore, there is no need to continue getting that credit window. And therefore, government wants to do another program, for example, the one which just requires technical support, because Zambia now can run, Zambia's economy can run on its own, because the fundamentals are looking up, and I can give you...
Is it really that case, or is it a case of we're getting into an election year?
No, but the numbers don't lie.
The numbers don't lie. I agree with you. The numbers don't lie.
Exchange rate.
I agree
with
the
exchange rate.
Numbers don't. And numbers don't lie. We'll get into the exchange rate next. Numbers don't lie. But having the IMF over your head during an election year, for politicians, we can avoid this. There are spends that you can't spend because the IMF just wants you to stick to a certain budget.
By the way, IMF was for 3 years. Okay? And the extension basically was for about 6 months or so. Mm-hmm. So, in any case, the original IMF program that Zambia applied for was supposed to be concluded in 2025.
Yes.
Not the election year.
Yes.
It was 3 years. That is the package. And the timing was not
But
based
on
the timing
to try and
the
extend
timing,
this
by
program.
the way, the original timing was not based on the elections. It's a 3-year program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And many countries are competing for the same macroeconomic support from IMF. Have you heard Botswana is applying for IMF program? Botswana, the country that made so much money in diamonds are not doing well. And therefore, they are facing fiscal challenges.
So you're saying there's no political motivation for us, wanting to
Not at all.
have a different deal with the IMF
the numbers
than what we had.
Numbers don't speak to that argument. Numbers speak to the positivity of the reforms, the fruition of the reforms. Copper production for the first time, once the out 10 is out for 2025, we are for the first time hitting 1 million tons of production. And I want to tell you the background to that. Government put in place progressive, competitive, and stable policies around the mining, which itself is the right package to reboot mining. You have seen the amount of investment that has come into mining be enabled by the right environment and the policies. You've seen, for example, you've seen in Lumwana, the super pit, and they are sinking $2 billion. One of the biggest open cast copper mine in Africa. Look what was happening in Kalumbila. Even the old mines are coming back to life. In Rwanda, the dewatering program for a mine that was flooded for over 20 years is coming to life. The new mining projects coming through, the Mingomba by Cobalt, have made, using artificial intelligence, the biggest discovery. Is coming on board in 2028. The super pit, which is under construction now, they are sinking $2 billion before they start producing, you understand? Because they believe in the policies. Production will start in 2028. So these policies have a long gestation period. Mining is expensive and long-term. So the policies that were put in place in 2022 are beginning to bear fruit. They don't bear fruit in 1 year. Look, I've told you, for example, Super Pit, the Mingomba project. What will be the biggest mine in Zambia? The dewatering project could not start immediately. Enabled by the right policies, things are coming. Some of them, they take about 5 years, some 3 years, and so on and so forth. And therefore, the gestation period, Mr. Zulu, is just striking now.
Okay.
And I can tell you evidentially, through evidence, that you can take a trend analysis, the figures year by year, how copper production has been increasing, responding to the good policies. And what is interesting, Mr. Zulu, is that even the time when we had the West energy crisis, copper production continues going up. That's genius. Because there were also reforms in the energy sector, which are quite progressive, that enabled, for example, operationalizing the open access program, provision, where a mine can buy power directly from a source in Mozambique or South Africa and just pay for whaling fee with ZESCO, who owns the infrastructure for transporting power. Now, those reforms, can you imagine, we had the West energy crisis, but mining production continued going up. New factories were opening. Zambia now is producing and exporting fertilizers into Malawi, into Zimbabwe, into Botswana. We are now becoming an exporter of fertilizers. And this is happening at the backdrop of the period of low energy production in the country. So there were also concurrent reforms in the energy sector to support mining. And now the fruits are coming home. Let me tell you something.
Let me tell you something.
Before I drop this one.
Yes.
Before I drop this one. The strengthening of the kwacha is fundamental. It is coming down. I can tell you, to a point where already people are saying the kwacha is becoming too strong. It might hurt exporters.
Let's break that down. Like Elia alluded to, you need to lay a base to that, because recently the kwacha has remained stable against the US dollar.
Not only stable,
and other major convertible currencies. What factors do you believe are contributing to this trend?
Yes. Now, these are now fundamental. I told you at the beginning of the reforms of this government in 2022, when they get to actually on the deck, okay? because they found a budget which was expiring in 2021, but the actual program began in 2022. That's their new budget. I can tell you that at that time, we were having less receipts from export. I told you. That's why there was need for that support from IMF. And because of the IMF's program, other multilaterals also came in because of the confidence level. The World Bank came in to support some programs. The donors had more support in this country in terms of grant and other support to the economy because of the confidence. Confidence means that your ability to pay tomorrow is improving, and therefore I can do business with you. And I can tell you, because of these reforms, enabling reforms in mining, enabling reforms in energy sector, which are the backbone of an economy, energy, mining, and of course we'll come to other things like agriculture, which are pro-people. The numbers are showing. You have seen, for example, agricultural production of our mainstay, which is maize, in terms of consumption, went up. And therefore, Zambia now is not paying any more money for import of maize. So that money is being saved. It's one of the reasons. Number two, copper production is going up, and therefore we are earning more forex. And I can tell you, even the other industries, if you go now to a multi-facility economic zone here, after Shalala, you will see the industries that are coming up. Even the Zambian-owned companies talk about Trade Kings, talk about Zambia breweries, talk about Zam beef, the export of beef into the emerging markets, into the Congo, into West Africa. If you are, for example, in beef, go and see how farmers are benefiting across the country. The price of beef is going up, and that's good for the farmer. Okay? Because we can only fight poverty, sir, through growth and growth and growth. So silver bullet to dealing with all these problems, the cost of living and all these manner of problems is growth. You can only share a bigger pie. And that is happening. So the strengthening of the Kwacha is standing on fundamentals. It is true, it can be proven, and it's going to come down to a point people are saying, let it not drop too much, because a stronger currency disadvantages exporters. It benefits importers. Like, for example, now, as it's coming down now, you will see now fuel prices coming down. And the fuel price is one of the main transmission in the cost of living, because once the transport cost comes down, the woman buying vegetables or fruits in Soweto to come and sell in Mtendere or in Kawata, the cost begins to come down. So the cost of living, which people are complaining, and rightly so, is only solved through the growth process. Many people, Mr. Zulu, say, no, the cost of living. Ask them how. They don't know. Anyone can say that. It's cheap. You know what I'm saying? Eh? To say it's true. Cost of living is going up. Anyone can say that, including my child. But you must go beyond that. You must get to know how to reduce the process of treating an economy, the process of reducing the cost of living. It's through these economic policies. And I can tell you now, you have seen stability now. Because of the stability in the exchange rate, which is literally coming down, and also the increase in maize production, have you noticed that in 2025, the price of meal never really went up, it stabilized. In some cases, actually, it went a little down. So it is production increase, but that brings stability. There is no miracle that will just bring, no, let's take over the mines. We had taken over the mines before, sir. You understand, yeah? Mining is expensive. Look at some of the people who are emerging miners, how they are just polluting rivers and our waters. It's expensive. But the big mines, if you go to Northwestern, even environmentally.
So what you're saying to us right now is that what we're seeing with the Kwacha and what's happening with the Kwacha is not artificial. This is something that citizens should expect throughout the year? Fundamental.
In fact, the Kwacha, people are already getting nervous that it's going to be too strong. If you're an exporter, like now, the weaker Kwacha, by the way.
What does a strong Kwacha mean for the ordinary Zambian and the Zambian economy?
Now, you see, there are two groups here. There are those who benefit from the strong currency and those who benefit from the weaker currency. Mm-hmm. Look at the exporters, for example. If I'm exporting, let me simple thing. I'm exporting lemons to DRC. By the way, lemons are, I don't know what is it, they are on high demand. The bag of lemons in Kasumbalesa, lemons, which you can grow anywhere, or goats, okay, or maize, or minimum into DRC. The price there is pegged in dollars. So when because of that, when the exchange rate was high, say at 28, you are earning a lot of money. A bag of 25 kg of midi meal used to fetch into kwacha terms, when you convert the dollar into kwacha, over 800 kwacha per 25 kg bag of maize, of midi meal. That's why there was a stampede to smuggle and so on. It was a diamond. So now, when the exchange rate begins to come down, if you are selling a goat, for example, if you are selling a goat, sir, at $50 in DRC, okay, $50, and your exchange rate was 28, okay, let's take it to 30 kwacha per dollar. So 30 by 50, that's what 1,500, okay, per goat. But if it comes down to 20, the amount begins to come down. Now you'll be getting 1,000 kwacha per goat. So people are already saying this kwacha is becoming stronger, which is true, that it must stabilize somewhere. If it comes down to below 15, it will hurt the exporters, but benefit the consumers. Fuel will be cheaper, you know what I'm saying? But even the bigger guys who are doing production, they use a lot of fuel, they will also benefit. So there's a trade-off.
What does it mean to foreign direct investment?
No, for foreign direct investment, it just sends the right vibe that Zambia is doing the right thing. I can tell you now, if you go to Zambia Development Agency and see the inquiries among investors, foreign investors coming into Zambia, because they are reading the dashboard. Zambia now is on is on all platforms. Is in the world news. Watch BBC, CNN, and all these Al Jazeera. Zambia is doing the right things, and investors are watching that, and they are saying, "Where is Zambia?" And that's why you have seen that even the inflow of visitors and tourists is increasing. It's because of the attraction. By the way, there is what we call investment tourism. People who come here to look for opportunities. They are investors as well as tourists. They stay in hotels, they eat our food, and so on and so forth. Go to the airport there, it's becoming busier because of the attraction. And therefore, the message is positive through the numbers, and they can be proven. Inflation rate came down. It only went up a little bit when you had the drought situation. I can tell you, go into 2026 because of the strengthening kwacha against the dollar. I can tell you, Mr. Zulu, inflation rate is going back to single digit. What is inflation rate? It's basically the indicator of the cost of living. The moment it comes down, it means prices have stabilized. So inflation rate indicates that prices are going up or down. So like the way it is now coming down, it means that prices are stabilizing. So things are just getting better. Not only that, with an expansion in the economy, it means that job creation is improving. As investment is coming through, there are more people who are working. I can show you numbers here, for example. It is demonstrated from Zambia Revenue Authority that over time, from 2021, 2022, you can see the numbers here. The collections of taxes at Zambia Revenue Authority is increasing. In 2021, it was 83 billion. In 2022, 106 billion. It came down a bit in 2023 because of the drought. In 2024, 130 billion. In 2025, 160 billion. We expect to collect about 185 billion kwacha of domestic revenue. Now, you can only collect from what is happening. Now, the increasing collections of taxes by Zambia Revenue Authority indicates that the economy is increasing, is improving. Not just the growth rate, from a zero growth to about 5%. From tax collections of below of about 80 billion kwacha to about 160 billion. What does tax collection, increased tax collection mean? It means that now there is more money at the disposal of government to provide for its people, to provide for free education, to increase the Constituency Development Fund, to improve the road network, to provide better health. You need increasing revenues. And increasing revenues in an economy is a function of growth. because tax revenue is a percentage of the growth. So these figures which are going up in terms of revenues that are collected by Zambia Revenue Authority indicates that the economy is growing. So there are a number of indicators.
Okay. All right. President Hamududu, I want to take it back again to 2025. Now, despite ongoing load shedding in 2025, there have been signs of recent improvements. In most areas, getting zero load shedding now from starting at about 19th December to date. But do you believe that, from your perspective, do you believe that the changes that we've seen are sustainable, or are they simply part of government's election campaign strategy?
Oh, great, Mr. Zulu. You are now bringing me to the energy sector. This also shows the efficacy of the reforms that have taken place in the energy sector. Let me take you backwards. If you want to understand anything, as I said at the beginning of this interview, you must understand the historicity, the history, the background of any happening. So the little background in the energy sector that led to the low energy production in this country. Number one, of course, as a country, we took too long to diversify energy sources. There are reports, both local and international, that advise Zambia to say, can you diversify your energy sources? We didn't do as far back as 30 years. That with the climate change, do not solely depend on hydro. There's need to diversify the energy sources. When this government came in, the diversification program for energy sources has become real and pragmatic. You can see already in the thermal power investment that's coming through, Mamba Phase 2, another 300 megawatts, and others that are on the pipeline. In the next 1 year or so, we will have over 1,000 megawatts from thermal, which is stable, which is not affected by climatic changes. There's also investment in solar. We are now marching towards 1,000 megawatts just from solar. Now, these reforms have helped to guarantee Zambia of stable power availability, and also even for exports. But here is the actual, in the short term, that has happened. As we enter 2022, at the dawn of this government, there were debts at ZESCO. ZESCO was owing power suppliers so much money, including Mamba. So they were supplying power and they're not paying back. And therefore, these companies could not expand their energy production. ZESCO has reduced to almost now a significant debt from over $800 million to about maybe 200, I don't know the figure now, maybe it's even $100 million. And now, because you had to clean the balance sheet of ZESCO, and the investors were saying, we cannot invest in Zambia because the third company that sells our power is in debt. So we cannot pass our power through an indebted company. That has been cleaned. That's why, and the investors have read that balance sheet, that okay, things are okay now. And that's why you have seen a multiplicity of investors coming in the energy sector. This is one of the reasons. You have seen already private sector-driven power plants coming through. You've seen the Chisamba one, it came through. ZESCO with some investors. You've seen in Mansa is coming through, and a few of them will be lighted shortly through the private sector. The other one, of course, was the debt that was there in Mozambique. In 2014, 2015, I think 2016, Zambia got power from suppliers in Mozambique. There are suppliers in the oceans that will run big plants on the ocean, diesel-driven plants. They produce power and they sell to countries in SADC. We just use the lines through Mozambique. And Zambia had not paid sufficiently for those debts. And this government had to clear that debt to qualify to order power. So even when there was power available in the region, say in the Mozambique, Zambia could not buy because first they had to pay those debts. Now those debts have been paid sufficiently, giving room for Zambia to import extra power. And this is what has caused this stability in electricity. Because now Zambia, first of all, the economy is growing, the budgetary provisions have gone up. We are now talking about a budget of $253 billion. Last year it was $217 billion. So the treasury now has more resources to do more for its citizens.
Is it sustainable?
Sustainable. You know why it's sustainable?
Yeah.
The imports are temporary. You know why temporary? We had some good rains also last year, and therefore the water flows in our rivers improved last year. This year again, God willing, the rains look good. Of course, the impact of these rains will show somewhere mid-year. It's not whenever it rains, then water has gone to Kariba. No, it takes about, like for Zambezi, it takes about 3 months or more for the good rains in northwestern, western, to reach Kariba. There's a time lag. And also with the low water levels that were there, it takes about 3 years of good rainfall to take Kariba to its full capacity. So the water levels have increased there. Last year's good rains, thanks to God. And this year, we hope that this continues. Looks like we have good rains. And therefore, just from these fundamentals, we will have stable supply also from hydro. Secondly, you have increased supply from solar. And also, Mamba Phase 2, 300 megawatts, is likely to be lighted this year. In fact, in the next 3 months or so. Okay? 3 to 4 months. And the investment started about 3 years ago. Now it's coming to fruition. A 300 addition to our national grid is a great thing, and from the stable source. And therefore, these imports are just a stopgap measure. As that is happening, new projects are coming on board. Therefore, the exports will start reducing, because now we have increased domestic supply. I can tell you, by next year, with most of these projects coming on board, Mr. Zulu, I can tell you that Zambia will be back to becoming a net exporter of power. So the energy sector now, apart from providing enough power for us in this country, will start earning dollars. So Zambia is again doing very well in investment in the energy sector. So apart from relying now mostly on mining to earn foreign exchange, in the next 1.5 years from now, when all these projects come to fruition and we have excess power, we will be earning dollars.
So for you, this is not an election scheme, or
no,
this is something that is sustainable, and citizens should look forward to having more hours of power?
Exactly. More hours of power, and going towards the end of the year, basically, we were running literally to making load shedding history. Because, these are documented projects. Mamba Phase 2 is coming on this year before mid-year. So there will be 600 megawatts of stable power for Mamba. And there are other smaller power stations also, even in the an improvement in the hydro power generation. And now the solar. They are documented. There's Serenja Power Station, which is almost coming on board. There's the Mansa one, which is being switched on. The Phase 2, Chisamba, 100 was already switched on. Phase 2 is coming on board later. In Chipata, in Choma, in Sesheke. So there are a number of these other micro and medium-sized solar power stations that are under construction right now and will be switching on as they conclude. And therefore, this year, they'll be switching on this, switching on this, switching on this, switching on this. Now, when you switch on power stations, it means increased power in the country. You saw also the Cobalt Energy Company, CEC, they did that. They were the first ones, and they are doing another phase.
Okay.
So these are documented, are practical things you can see with naked eyes. By the way, investment in mines and energy is not a story. By the way, even in journalists here, you can say, okay, can we go and see with our naked eyes? These are happening. And therefore, this is real. The imports are temporarily, but supported by also increasing production with a few stations that are being switched on. So energy sector is coming right and becoming a very powerful economic sector. Let me tell you also, other things are also happening. Education is becoming an economic sector. Zambia now is beginning to earn dollars. There are a lot of foreign students coming in this country. The health sector is also becoming an economic sector. Apart from treating our people, there are people now that are coming in this country. You have seen the number of private hospitals coming up. That shows confidence in the economy. So beyond just providing education to our people, providing health to our people, these sectors now are becoming economic sectors. You have heard about India with the health tourism, that India earns so much money just for people going to be treated in India. In Zambia now are switching on, for example, the extended cancer hospital. Okay, they improved the dialysis. taking it to other provinces. So these are things in progress. With that, I can tell you, our neighbors who might be unfortunate, so Angola in the inland hinterland, DRC in the other countries, they are coming in here. For education is all countries here. They are coming in this country. Why? Because of peace, because of the positive news on the economy, and so on and so forth. So I can tell you, sir, the future for this country is just bright. If we continue on this path of reforms, we must be consistent on what works. What is happening now is working, and we must be consistent. If we do that, sir, this is how to take the economy to the next level. This is how economies develop.
In case you're just joining us, well, we have Party for Unity and Progress President Highvie Hamududu on the hot seat this morning. You'll be given a chance to be part of this conversation by calling us on 0974 870 877. Now, shifting to the political landscape, President Hamududu.
But before that, Mr. Zulu, can I take a little bite on agriculture? I think it's to be unfair, because agriculture is a pro-people sector. That's where 70% of people are involved. Again, reforms here. The Farmer Input Support Program has been reformed sufficiently. For the first time this farming season, the delivery of FISIP was through e-voucher. Brilliant. I was in the parliament when many years ago, about maybe 15 years from now, when a parliamentary committee recommended, after visiting other countries, that the right way to deliver FISIP is through the e-voucher, using technology. It's cheaper and targets, okay? And there's less fraud because you target the actual farmer. Mr. Zulu, they send money to you, okay? This has been done very well. Do you know what's the other import? Apart from supporting more farmers, because the cost of delivery has reduced, the agro dealers across the country in 116 districts of our country have now gotten business, whether it's in Kaputa or Shangombo or Chama or Keleng or whichever. The Zambian-owned small-scale and medium-scale agro dealers have gotten so much business because they're the ones who are delivering the Farmer Input Support Program through FISIP. You can see the broadening. So the beneficiation of FISIP has gone beyond just the farmers. It has gone to young entrepreneurs. Go and do an interview in all these towns, with Mpongwe or Kasempa or the emerging Kawambwa and so on in agriculture, and see and do an interview over how the small-scale agro dealers have benefited. Genius. And then within the sector, there is now financing coming through. The SAF loans, Sustainable Agriculture Fund loans, that farmers are accessing. Another window, because FISIP is not enough. There are farmers like you and I, which FISIP is really nothing. We need bigger money because we have the know-how to do bigger things. So we need financing. So we have the FISIP, the SAF loans. And it's just now to put a better housing for these loans, maybe create an institution, which is a discussion in progress. There must
you paint a picture. You paint a picture like the agriculture sector has had a smooth sailing. Which hasn't been the case, President Hamududu.
Tell me the problem.
Obviously, we can't speak of the agriculture sector without talking about the late delivery of inputs. We can't speak of that without talking about the late payments of farmers. Right now, we talk about a bumper harvest last year where government, through FRA, purchased 1.5 million metric tons of maize, of which payments have been delayed. The same farmers that you're referring the same farmers you're referring to as to having received money through e-voucher were still queuing up as late as now.
Can I say something on that one?
To get their monies, which they were supposed to reinvest in that land to give us another bumper harvest.
Mr. Zulu, I want to say this.
So why aren't you talking about these problems that we've had and how we are supposed to sort them out in the future, seeing that we're having good rains? There's another potential bumper harvest on our hands here, but it's going to only happen if we handle the agricultural sector right.
I want to say this, Mr. Zulu.
Yes.
We understand that, and it's unfortunate, and we sympathize with the farmers, and government did not mean to hate the farmers. And I think government apologized to the farmers for the delay in payments. Okay? This is an incident. It's not a policy. Here is the policy on that. In the budgetary allocation in 2025, the government budgeted to buy the allowable food reserves, which is about 500 to 600,000 metric tons.
Yes.
But then there was overproduction, and the farmers were not getting a fair price from the private dealers. The private buyers were
This
buying.
was expected, by the way.
Wait a minute.
The overproduction was expected because the president himself went out to the farmers and told them, you need to produce more.
Yes.
You need,
Yes.
if you're producing 10 bags, let me give you an example. This is not actual figure, but it gave an example. If you're producing 5 bags on your piece of land now, I want you to double it and make sure that you produce 10. After the president encouraged the farmers, they listened and took heed to his advice and produced more. So government should have been ready for this.
Yes, let me tell you something. There is a trend for food reserve. That's a food reserve agency. It's not a marketing agency. That's why now there's a discussion to create a marketing mechanism. Food reserve is food reserve.
Yes.
You buy food for as a reserve buffer in case you don't have enough rains the following year and the other year. And therefore you don't buy unlimited. And therefore, according to the people that project, what was allowable and including the storage around and the capacity of the budget was to buy 600. So you see, the main buyer basically is supposed to be private sector. But because the economy had shrinked, the private sector also had shrinked. And as the private sector is improving now, and while it's still struggling, government must come in where there's a failure. There's what we call market failure. And when there's market failure, the sovereign government comes in. That's a job of government. And government said, no, wait a minute. The farmers are opting to buy from us. So FRA, we know that we budgeted for you to buy 600 or 500 metric tons. Please, can you open the window? Can you buy more? Because farmers don't want to sell a bag for 150. So it's regrettable that money was paid late. It's regrettable, and it should not happen again. I think government has also given that assurance. Here is the issue, the good story. Because you see, there's a silver lining, even in a bad situation, the unfortunate incidents. The money the farmers are being owed is great money. If, for example, you grew 100 bags of maize, and you sold to briefcase guys, and they paid you 150 or 200. Okay? How much money? Okay? 100 bucks times 200. It's just about 20 million, isn't it? Somewhere there. But if now government was buying at how much? 3 what? Over 300. 350 or something, or 360. No, it means that government was buying at double the price. Now, by the farmers selling to Food Reserve Agency, through the provision government gives, can you buy over and above the food reserve requirement, what was budgeted? Farmers, even the money they are owed is double than if they sold to the private sector. So government came to the rescue of the farmers. But then money was not immediately available. By the way, budget, you don't just move money anyhow. Once you spend more than what is budgeted, a budget is low. You have to do a supplementary budget. Because if you just mumbo jumbo budget, then the budget will collapse. Mm-hmm. So that's why when Parliament approves the budget, it's called an Appropriation Act. It's a bill turned into law. So it's law. You have to operate within the limits. So the legal provision, as approved by Parliament in the appropriation bill, that became an act, was basically amounted to the tune of 500, 600 metric tons. But then government bought a 1 million extra. So government had to source money elsewhere. Has government sourced the money? Yes, that is great. In some situations, in some governments, they would fail to find that money. We have a history of farmers being owed for over 2 years. But this one, unfortunately as it is, at least government has put enough efforts to ensure that farmers are paid within the one fiscal year. It's unfortunate, it's beyond the rainy season, but thank God the FISP worked properly. But now government realizing this reality, okay? Understanding this reality, a practical reality, that there's need to create another window, another institution beyond Food Reserve Agency. Government now is creating the Commodities Exchange, which is a great opportunity, which is linked to the export market. So that will be able to suck all the production that is left by Food Reserve Agency. Going into the future, the architecture for buying crops for farmers is just improving. Whether it's rice, whether it's groundnuts, whether it's beans, these are high value crops. And maize. The region and some countries not far from here are hungry. By the way, the next economy is around IT and food. And the right framework to support farmers is coming through, improving the private, the credit window, the actual loans, because really you need financing beyond the FISIP. It's being improved. And then the marketing highway, that will link a farmer to a market in Congo, to a market in the Great East, through Mpulungu and so on. That is being created, a platform. Just like government is creating a platform for small-scale miners. Already they are doing that in gold. That you are doing gold, you can sell to a government agency. You don't need to be to a government agency. You don't need to be stranded. There's some gold that buys gold from small scale. Even if you have 10 grams, you can sell. And therefore, government is creating also a more viable private sector or business wing of buying maize. Because food reserve is not agents, is not there for business. It's to stock national reserve. That is what is created. That's what created that agency in the law. By the way, food reserve agency is created by law. And in the legislation that creates food reserve agency, stipulate that you will only buy maize and other food stuff for national food reserve. So there's a limitation there. So with now increasing production, and I can tell you, this year's production from this rain season, despite these challenges from the farmers, will be bigger than last year. I can even bet. I have driven around here. I'm not really an agronomist, but I can tell you that even from an ordinary person like you and I, the maize coming around the country and with the good rains, the production of maize this year will be higher. And therefore, government is preparing to create another marketing window that is bigger than FRA, the Food Reserve Agency, to improve the buying of maize. So these are lessons learned.
Okay.
It will not happen again.
All right. Let's shift to the political landscape here, Mr. Hamududu. With this being an election year, what are your thoughts? How do you assess the state of the opposition, and is your party prepared? We know that you're part of the UPND alliance now. So
for me, really, our party, we have joined the UPND alliance of 10 political parties. You know the parties that are there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have ADD for President Mirupi, who is a Minister of Infrastructure. We have MDC by President Felix Mutati, who is the Minister of Science and Technology, and the other parties coming through, and we are one of them. So our party, looking at the right and the left, and looked at the prospects, it made more sense to go in this alliance. And one of the reasons we gave when we joined this alliance that these people are doing the right thing in revitalizing the economy, and it is showing now. When I read the endorsement statement for as our party for UPND, these are things I talked about. The energy crisis is being a problem is being addressed, and I'm happy to see that it's coming to fruition. I say that they are doing the right thing in the mining. The numbers are showing that.
What's happening to your party now? Yeah, because there's always these questions with alliances in the country. Once you join an alliance and your party is not as big, but you have a member of parliament in parliament.
Yes.
You have numbers. That counts as numbers. Having a member of parliament in parliament and your structures. What happens to you after 2026? Are you going to now just join the UPND? Is this the end of your party? Are you just going to be a member of the? Are your members going to be members of the UPND? What's the plan? Because we're getting into an election year. Is this an electoral pact alliance, or what's going on?
Well, first of all, the party remains. Just like the party for Honorable Mirupi is still there. The party for Honorable Mutati is still there. And our party goes there as... So I'm a member of PNUP, but in the UPND. So UPND as a party is the anchor party, is the main party. Mm-hmm. And it's not strange, Mr. Zulu. In South Africa, people must read contemporary history. At one time, President Ruto worked with the late Raila Odinga. Okay? And first time he worked with Uhuru Kenyatta. Mm-hmm. Left Uhuru Kenyatta in Kanu, went to work with Raila Odinga. Left and went to work again with Uhuru Kenyatta. Mm-hmm. And they formed the government. Uhuru Kenyatta, whom he supported, left supported the late Raila Odinga. He went with other partners, Musalia Mudavadi, Moses Wetangula, and they formed the government. So politics is dynamic. Look at South Africa. The ANC is in an alliance with a Democratic Alliance. The Democratic Alliance is a remnant of the party of our friends who ruled before ANC came in. So there is no one should say, I cannot work with that. We are not God. You can work with anybody. First of all, we are fellow Zambians. So there is dynamism. And it has happened in South Africa. The oldest political party in the world is the ANC, by the way. The first party to be formed in Africa in about 1911, but it came into power later, has worked with the remnants of apartheid in government. They're in an alliance there. So alliance is the reality of governance. So if you remain stiff-necked and one-track minded, you can become irrelevant. There are enough politicians in Zambia who became irrelevant by not reading the Times. For us, we've chosen the UPND alliance. First of all, they are doing the right things. We agree, and we are happy to lend our little support to the UPND, and we remain as PNUP. Okay? So we are not. If in the future it will be necessary and expedient to join UPND as a party, we can. It happens. It does happen. It has happened before. The ANC in Zambia, which was the first party.
Don't you think you run a risk of PNUP dying in you being a part of this alliance?
You know, Mr. Peter, yeah. First of all, I read history, so I am an ardent reader. And thank God I follow these things very clearly. You've seen the current president is number 7th president in this country, isn't it?
Yes.
Very interesting. We have President Kaunda, isn't it?
Yes.
Who was in the ANC, Secretary General of Haring Kumbula. And then they left, and then in 1962 they formed a coalition government together. This country was founded on a coalition in 1962, which was a precursor to 1964 elections, when UNIP won on their own, and the ANC became the main opposition. Come 1973, they came together in the same party. And Haring Kumbula was MP under UNIP in his last term from 1973 to 1978 in the Wengo constituency, where I was an MP. So there are dynamics. Look here. The late President Rupia Banda, may he so rest in peace, he was a member of UNIP. In 1991, he stood in Munali here as a parliamentary candidate, and he lost to Ronald Penza. And they fought to revive UNIP. It didn't work, and he retired to his farm. Didn't he become a president of the party that defeated them? And he was a good president. He was a president of MMD, the party that removed them and made them lose elections, including himself as a parliamentary. President Mwanawasa, he wanted to attempt to challenge Chiluba in 1995. I was there. I was at university at that time. He lost lamentably to his brother, President Chiluba, and they left. He just served one term as a member of parliament for Chifubu. He was vice president. He resigned, and then he left. He went back to his Lodiko firm in Ndola. Didn't he become president of MMD, the very party that rejected him? At Mulungushi, in the 1995 MMD convention. So there is dynamism. You must read. Don't be rigid in politics. All these politicians, they have been to every party. Some of them, the party they belong to is the number 6 party. At least for me, the level of joining is still low. So I'm still new. I've only been in 2 parties in my life, UPND and PNUP. And I hope to remain there until I resign. I mean, I shall not resign until I retire from politics, because, I mean, in the next 15 years, I should retire. I don't want to be doing politics in my 80s. There are other people. You, Mr. Zulu, can also become president. I mean, these are not personal things. First of all, there's only one slot for presidency, and we must be realistic. If all of us start fighting for presidents as if we are fighting for sweets, that's not how to fight for presidency. And even to the credit of President Hakainde Hichilema, do you know what President Hakainde Hichilema worked with the FDD? Do you know what President Hakainde worked with the UNIP? UPND, I was there. I was the founder member. UPND had worked with PF in a pact. We went together to buy elections in Chilanga, in Mfumbe, in Kasama. We are not strange to each other. And therefore, people will always move from this alliance to the other. It's a realism. Just like, for example, if you are working at Hot FM, does it mean that you must work here until you are 50 years or you are 60 years? Where is hope? who was here interviewing me, is she now a MD at Capital FM? That's the dynamism of life. You worked at Bank of Zambia, now working for FNB and so on. So it's the way it's real in other life, in the private sector, or any other social life, it's also real in our politics. Read the times. Do not be rigid to work with other people. And if people come to you and say, can we find a middle ground? And for us, as PNUP and UPND, we found a middle ground, and it was fairly easy, to choose to work with them.
So what's your advice to, what sort of advice would you offer to opposition political parties as we approach the elections?
Well, you see, first of all, I'm a player. As a political player and a competitor, I'm the worst person to advise the other people. I don't do those politics. Can you imagine? You're advising your opponent. You are playing football. Say, no, you guys...
well, you were part of the opposition, and now you've switched camp to the governing alliance. Don't you think you're the right person to
how can I advise them when we want to be in government? So their weakness is our advantage. Look, I support Mufulira Wanderers as a local team, because that's where Kalusha, my hero in football, comes from. Maybe support Cabo Warriors, okay?
I support Zanako Football Club myself.
Where? Which one?
Yes, Zanako Football Club myself.
Zanako, yes. The new ones. Oh, you are supporting babies. Okay? Zanako, you understand, eh?
Yes.
So there is dynamism, eh? Now, we are playing, Zanako is playing Mufulira Wanderers. Now, Mufulira Wanderers must advise Zanako how to score. What is that? So
don't you think our democracy should be so mature that the common goal should be Zambia winning?
No, there are neutral people who can advise our friends in the opposition.
Shouldn't it be that the aim is to make sure that Zambia wins here?
Can you imagine?
And not Team Red, Team Blue, Team
no,
Pink.
I know.
But the country winning?
For now, my concentration is the UPAD Alliance to win elections. That's where I am. And we wish our friends also the best. And it's not enmity. Just like yourself, sir. You cannot advise Radio Phoenix on how to do things, and then they take your market. I mean, that is not correct in business. You are fighting for the same. You are competing for the same. It's not fighting. You are competing for the same market. And therefore, I can tell you, seriously speaking, it is not correct for a member of the alliance of the ruling party to advise the opposition ruling party, or the opposition ruling party to advise the ruling party. We can talk about policies.
Isn't this a game of ideas again?
No.
On the country?
On the policies, I can tell, for example.
To better the country?
Yes, no, let me tell you, the extent to which you can advise each other. Not on a strategy. We can advise them, for example, let's compare policy to policy. Okay? We challenge them, what is your blueprint in mining? What is your blueprint in agriculture? What is your blueprint in growing the economy? What is your alternative economic policy? On that one, you can say, tell us so that we argue. Zambians can choose. For now, they can learn from what we are doing.
Okay.
And also, if there's something good they are doing, we can also learn. Okay? If they know how to campaign, we can pick an idea. But definitely, a fellow opposition or a ruling party alliance is the worst allowed to advise the other people. There are other neutral people like yourself who can advise both of us, because as we have self-interest, we want to win the next election. So I cannot advise you to beat me in the election.
All right, President Hamududu. In case you're just joining us, we have PNUP President here in studio, President Highvie Hamududu. It's now time for you to be part of this conversation. You can call us up on 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. Remember to restrict yourself to asking one question, because we want to get in as many questions as we can.
You're listening to The Hot Seat on Hot FM 87.7. It's time for you to call now and get involved. Call now and get involved.
Hello, good morning. You're through to The Hot Seat.
Good morning, Commander. How are you?
Good. How are you doing? What's your name?
I'm good. This is Musanje Komononas. Wait, no space, no speech. The President, how are you?
I'm well, sir. And how are you?
We didn't get your name.
Musanje Komononas. Wait. No space, no speech.
Oh, Musanje.
I just want to agree with the President why he said the economy and the European government is doing fine. I agree with him. I've got an evidence where I stay in Mandela. There's no radio station which is offer free talk time here. We are calling the radio station from January to December. I can do there talk time that you better kuja kunyumba. Go to my shops to where the Rwandese are selling The Zambian people are there busy playing draft from 6 to sunset, playing draft. Do you think you can go back and don't chase that? The answer is no, meaning the economy is doing fine. Thank you very much. So that one I support you 100%.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
0950-955-877, 0974-870-877. Those lines get you through to the hot seat this morning. We'd like to hear from you. If you have a question or contribution, do give us a call. We have PNUP President Highvie Hamududu, also a member of the UPND Alliance, I should add, if you have any questions or contribution. Good morning.
Good morning, Pizzy.
Morning to you. What's your name?
This is Peter. Mr. Hamududu, good morning.
Morning, my brother. And how are you?
Fine, thank you. I'm enjoying the show, sir.
Oh, thank you, sir.
You are speaking very well, and then I think we need such people in government, sir.
Oh,
but let me just share my my worries. I've seen the appreciation of Kwacha, which is a good thing. And the only problem is that I'm worried if this continues, I think it will affect our local industries. And also this will reduce on export competitiveness, exporters' profit margin, especially those whose currency are in foreign currency. So I just want you to make a comment on that.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Let's pick up one more call, then we'll allow PNUP President Hamududu to just respond to those two calls. 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. Call us up now. We'd like to hear your question or contribution. Good morning.
Morning, Kabanja. Okay, Moses.
Moses, for some question in our Hamududu Mustudio.
Kabanja President.
Thank you.
Moses, phone yanunga il loudspeaker ichosen, please, so that you converse sen mushamusha.
Okay. President, mamukambira mukamangati zintu birishe bina manengi pa ground. But setikaona vemukamba birishe patele kamaona. Cause in as Moses, nikaenda Machenstone. Nipeza vintu nivodula. So impression lete mukamba hapo yo. Ainenua mga sinista affecting. Nikaona vintu vikachipako pa ground. Zakomina cha vintu atreti vingiriko bwino. But mwambikambira mungati paketi ya sugar tikula titenkwati. But mukaenda mashops mumapaketi ya sugar 70 kuti 2 kgs. Maona ka. Sala dinzingati. So if vikachipa chizaona tivinangala bwino.
Moses' line just dropped, but we got the gist of his question.
Yes.
Please respond to those three calls.
Yes, Mr. Msanje, thank you so much for your feedback. What the Zambian people want, and the government is taking that into consideration, is that the Zambians need empowerment, and that's why government is increasing allocation to the Citizens Economic Empowerment Fund. So that our people in Mandevu can also begin to do things that our brothers from Rwanda are doing, because those have financing from somewhere. And then our people facilitated and also learning to work a little smart and harder, we should be able to get there. It's a process. Peter, it's true. Remember what he said here, Mr. Zulu?
Yeah.
Here's a person on the ground, Peter, that the appreciation of the kwacha is affecting one sector of the players in the economy, the exporters. And therefore, in economics, we talk of stability. It must not swing up or too much down. And therefore, the kwacha really should be resting around 20 plus minus. Because that's where the thing is used, the economy is used. If it came down, not really below 15, below that, it will hurt the export sector. But of course, we need a strong, because, this kwacha was in 2011, it was about $3, it was $3.50.
Yeah, 2.5, yeah.
Yeah, and it went up and up. And this is what caused the high cost of living, because we're an import-dependent economy. Most of the things we use in the industry are imported, fuel and so on and so forth. So when we have an appreciating kwacha, it will reduce the cost of production through fuel. and many other. If you are importing your parts, spare parts, whether it's in agriculture or in industry, you are buying your things from Dubai or China and so on, you now bring them cheaper. But then the appreciation must not go too low of the kwacha to a point where it doesn't make sense to sell things outside. And this is the problem Botswana faced. The Botswana had a very strong exchange rate driven by diamonds, and therefore other sectors did not grow. The diamonds now has gone down in terms of exports, and there are other issues around diamonds. They are producing artificial diamonds, so the market was shrinking a bit. So the Botswana economy is having problems because the strong puller did not facilitate the growth of other export-led sectors. So it is very true. So we must not go through that. They call it the Dutch disease. That if you have a strong currency driven by one sector, it can destroy other sectors. And therefore, government within its policy manipulation, in its policy framing, they will see how what they can do to ensure that the kwacha stabilizes somewhere. There are mechanisms within the monetary policy, not to control. There are policies that can be implied without damaging the efforts of the players, because we are a free market economy. So I appreciate Peter, and I think the policymakers are reading that. They are getting the feedback that the kwacha, if it becomes too strong again, we need a strong kwacha, but if it becomes too strong, it will hurt the other sector. So let's find a fine balance between the interests of the importers and the exporters. For Moses, saying things are too expensive in the shops. You know, in economics, Mr. Zulu, we talk about price stability, meaning prices must not increase at a fast rate. They must just be there and maybe reduce marginally. By the way, if the price, for example, of sugar drops to 10 kwacha, the sugar production will collapse. It's called deflation. So it's inflation, price is going too high. Deflation is price going too low. Even you, sir, if you are selling tomato or onion in the market or vegetables, and the price goes too low, you stop selling because the business becomes unprofitable. So in economics, we talk about price stability, not over reduction. For example, minimum prices has stabilized. That is correct. And reduced marginally. But you can't reduce the price of minimum to 50 kwacha. The main sector will collapse. It's called deflation. Deflation is as dangerous as inflation. That's why we are talking of price stability as the best balance. So I hear you, sir. What you must look for in the shops now with the kwacha strengthening is to see prices not increasing as fast as they were increasing when the economy was bad. So they will stabilize and come down a little bit. Because, a salary is a price. You know that, A salary that you get is a price of your labor. If it comes down, you protest. You want either it remains there or it increases marginally. And therefore, in the economics of pricing, we talk about price stability. Not too much increase, not too much reduction. Within a normal range. It's like someone who has, for example, BP or diabetes. There's a range. If it goes too high behind it, it becomes a problem. If it goes below too much across this line, down there, it becomes a problem. So the range of your sugar levels must be within this band. Not above this, not below this. That's what we call stability. Whether it's a high blood pressure, there is an upper bound where it becomes dangerous and where it becomes dangerous again on the lower. So low high blood pressure can kill you. Very low. Very high can kill you. Just like diabetes, very high levels can kill you. Very low levels can kill you. What can sustain you? It's the readings, the numbers, the rates within acceptable bounds. So we don't want too much increase and too much reduction. So my point I'm belaboring here is that in economics, what is needed is price stability. So that we can plan that if I send this money to my mother, she will still buy the same packet of sugar. Not this month, you are sending 50, next month 70 for the same packet of sugar. You get my point? So the producer's interests must be taken care of, and also the consumers. So they meet halfway.
Okay. Let's get back to more calls. It's 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. Good morning. Good morning. You're through to the hot seat. Who do we have on the line?
Good morning, Honorable Hamududu.
Good morning, Sandy. How are you?
This is Dr. Proud right now. I'm in Chawama.
Yeah, how are you, doctor?
How are you?
I'm well, my brother.
And you clone. You know there are some issues where you say President Yagainde is Pugu tribe in the southern province. What to their own secretariat? The chief musician was singing a song during Balungu funeral. Where are you, peace? When you sing a song for Tonga and secretariat for PF Wago's daughter in Tonga. That's why President Yagainde was reminding Zambian where we have come from. Other people, they do bring a tribe. Be it at the funeral, they don't want President Yagainde to be the funeral. Why? So, don't you listen to them, Baba. There's a ground in the Chawama right now. Anyone must go and say they want a political career. Be it Johnny Sangwa, be it Shoni Tembo. They are not denying them Larry. So, them
Mr. Proud, doctor.
Hello?
Dr. Proud. He's gone. I wanted to answer him while he's still there.
Okay.
Maybe I must say this something
before
even going further. We politicians must stay away from talking about tribe from whichever angle. And Zambians are one. Let's stop talking about tribe. For me, I have no time to talk about tribe because I believe we are one. Mr. Zulu and me, there's no difference. Yeah, so even Mr. Proud, you must not trumpet that tribal undertone. No, you shouldn't. Yeah, so if you don't, and we must not like it, if you don't like tribalism, of course, as a country, we must commit ourselves not to like tribalism, not to do tribalism, because it's unconstitutional. It's a crime. And therefore, let's stay away from the tribal issues. Let's discuss issues like we've been discussing here. There's no need for that. So even Mr. Proud, the only thing positive you have said is that there is peace in Chawama. People are not fighting. That's correct. That is by the law, by the way. Violence is a crime. And therefore, this government is abiding by the law. Law and order. It's law. It's not what a party must do. It's law. If you don't do that, then you're not doing what you're supposed to do as a government. As for the tribalism, let's stay away from tribal talk. Let's stop that. It's not good for us and for the country.
All right, let's get back to the calls. It's 0974-870-877.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Moka Banji.
Bueno Banji, Mandanzineano.
Ndine Vana Rishevo, known as Vana Angela, calling from Garden Chiro. Muri Banji, I guess, in studio.
Tribune, Muri Banji.
Tribune. Inesini Gurizana na imola guest Vane Mukamba mu studio. Tikayangana, mutitandizira. Imo Mukamba ati vingoza munga vilisabe boino. Bati mukapita makompa udu mumuone mwameta vutikira. Pari governance yaba UPND pari 4 years to 5 years yao. Semunga kondwele nao baba guest murium. Sindi mwameta zokati kumbuyo mba governance yonza. So in the voice of animals kokamba. Tinagwirizane na imolo muri mu alliance nao. Semuna titandizire. Road setting ya 4 years. Cost of living tosa unga 120 kwacha kupeka pa 400 and takati. Mukambe kutia ivintu bagezi na alliance kambi. I think tumutitandizira.
Before you go, my brother, let me ask you, what was the price of Midimir in 2011?
2011?
What was the price of Midimir?
80 quarter.
No. It was 35. I was here.
No. Andalupia banda unga unafikapo na 85 kwacha.
Okay.
Okay,
fine. Okay. Let's
do this. Allow her to just finish so that
Let me finish first of all.
Mr. Zulu.
You just write it. Let her just finish her question, then we'll allow you to do it. Citizen Mukamba, then it's just allow Hamududu.
Yes. Tosa unga 120 kwata kupeleka pa 400 and itani mga kamba teviribudu. Blade ya mene yanti kwa 8 quarter by this time. under PF government and very per 7 quarter 50 ngwe family bread.
Okay.
But by this time we per 1st quarter. Bani ama bandi the 13 quarter 50 ngwe apa ni 1st quarter mungakamba ti vintu viri bwino.
Okay,
Economy siri bwino just analyze yani kulibe kwa muyenda. I think ndiye kukamba kwanga zikomo.
Okay, lekantu shite allow manje ba shite respond wa Hamududu. You can respond to her now.
Yeah, the issue is that these are numbers. Sir, 85, if you say 35, let's agree, let's put an average for me and the same. 85, 35, let's put at 50, for example. Give him a benefit of doubt in 2011. And what was the price of minimum in 2021? What was the dollar rate in 2011? Okay, in 2011. About 3 quarter 50, yeah? Let's be fair. Say 5 quarter to $1. How much was it in 2021? It went to about 20. What was the fuel price in 2011? Let's not talk about parties. Let's just talk about years. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to talk about which party was there. Just the years. So, sir, Banadisewo, right now, the kwacha price has stabilized and is coming stronger. And people are complaining it's becoming stronger. A price of the kwacha indicates the price which you are complaining. People have to buy the dollar to buy something, isn't it? So now they can afford it. It's cheaper. And therefore you can order your things a bit cheaper if you are an importer. The price of minimum has stabilized. Where is he buying a 400 kwacha? Is this, Mr. Naisero, is it, my brother, you are exaggerating. What is the price of minimum? Sir, you buy minimum. What's the price? Let me ask you, as a neutral arbiter, what's the price of minimum? Do you buy or your wife buys?
Unfortunately, I'm not here to answer questions. So you're the one to do all the answering of the questions.
The price of minimum now in the shops, 25 kg, is basically 200 or below. Below. So it's not 400. So that's information is giving is not correct. So when we are arguing,
depending on the brand you're buying also.
No, there is no price of minimum.
So let's also put that in
there is
perspective.
No price of minimum from here, sir. Pass through ShopRite or Pick and Pay or Choppies and tell me whether there is 400 kwacha bag of 25 kg of minimum. That's not correct. So when we are arguing, let's give the right figures. Yeah.
True. I'm sure Vanalisha was referring to the point where it reached those highs, because during this course there was a time it reached that high in some areas, even higher.
Exactly.
Within the country.
What has happened now?
Yes,
it has come down.
There's a reduction of
that is a progress, and therefore this is the progress we must support. That is progress. The price of minimum has stabilized. It is coming down, and by the way, people are even becoming more innovative. Do you know that, Mr. Zulu? Some people are buying maize, and they take to Chigayo. There are Chigayos everywhere now. You go to Chelston, you go market, you go to Kabwata, and so on. People now have found their own way of making their own even healthier midi meal. For example, I don't take breakfast midi meal. Okay? You and I, as we grow older, it's not health. Okay? Not because I have any ailment, I don't. But just as a health measure, I take Roda meal. I buy maize and I go and meal. It's much, much cheaper. We're not saying they must stop producing midi meal in the shop. They must, others don't. They want to eat that, they can eat. You know, food is a choice. So it is not correct. So Mr. Nadise must support something that is improving. The kwacha is improving, price of minimum is improving, inflation is improving, which is the cost, generally the cost of prices, okay? The prices in the country. But inflation is indicative of the prices. When they say the inflation rate is going to single digit, it means that the rate at which prices are increasing has reduced. That is positive. And therefore, the future is just becoming better and better. By the way, the prices over time, over the years, continue to go up. Do you know that, sir? A price of a vehicle in the early 70s was as low as 20 kwacha. You buy a vehicle. It came in the 70s. My father bought a van at 1,000 kwacha. A Belmont Holden, American car, from the Copper Belt. Now, so you are saying now the economy must improve. It must go to 1978. The price of a car must go to 1,000. Who can sell a car for 1,000? There is a general price increase over the years. What is advocated in economics is that the prices must not increase faster. Even what you are doing yourself, myself, Mr. Nalishebo, the prices, you want better prices for you to make money, isn't it? But what is not allowable is to increase the price at a higher level against the earnings of the people, the incomes of the people. So the prices over time, they increase over time. There's a time where you could buy a house here in Kablonga at 20,000. Today in Kablonga, you need 4 million to buy a house. So there's a general price increase. While we don't agree, and we must not have prices that are jumping, the prices are now stable. We can now plan. We can make money. The producer and the consumer are all benefiting because there is a win-win situation. So in pricing, there must be a win-win what situation.
All right, President Hamududu, I'd like to thank you very much for coming through to the hot seat this morning.
Mr. Zulu, I'm very grateful for your nice program. I always enjoy coming here, and keep up the good work.
All right, there you have it. That's our show for this, for today, Tuesday, the return of the hot seat. I've been your host. My name is Peter Zulu. You can catch another edition of the hot seat this Thursday, right here on Hot from 9 hours to 10:30, right here on Hot, and also live on Canela FM on 97.7 FM in Lundazi. Until Thursday, it's goodbye for now. Coming up next is the Urban Vibe with Honey.
That was the hot seat. Don't forget to join next week at the same time. Exclusive to Hot 87.